Good morning, everyone. Welcome to daily meditation. We're on Wednesday today. Welcome as well to those who are watching the recording. So we're here with Ayala Gill this week, our guiding teacher. And for those who've watching for the first time, Ayala's practices include Iyengar yoga, insight meditation, insight yoga, and the animistic practices of the Andean Incan holy mountain tradition. Ayala's been teaching for 25 years, guides silent retreats in Europe, which include yoga, meditation, and ceremony. And she's also currently writing a book about integrating these practices into daily life. So it's very good to have Ayala's teachings this week. I think we've been seeing a lot of appreciation for the theme and the practices this week. Our theme is living in sacredness. So we'll start with a short talk this morning by Ayala, and then we'll have a guided practice for 30 minutes approximately, and then there's time for questions and answers or dialogue or sharing of reflections. So if you would like to ask a question or share something with the Sangha and with Ayala, you can raise your digital hand at the bottom of your screen and I can bring you on screen, or you can type a question in the chat. And to do that, we ask just that you start your question with the word question in caps so we can differentiate it from the rest of the chat. All right, and these sessions are all run on a dana basis. So that means that they are freely offered. We don't charge any fees to attend, but also they are not free to run, of course. They do involve financial resources. Therefore, it's a practice of offering and receiving. You offer your presence, you receive the teachings. The teachings and the whole of Sangha Live is offered, and we also receive financial contributions from the community. That's how this whole wheel keeps running, and the wisdom continues to be shared freely with whoever wants to show up on any given weekday morning or Sunday or basically any time, because the recordings are available as well. So Sangha Live and Ayala deeply appreciate your financial contributions, your dana. If you would like to donate today or this week, that whatever you donate will be shared with Ayala. And to do that, it's very easy. Also for those who are in the recording, you don't have to be live in order to donate. If you benefit from the teachings, you can just go to sangha.live/donate, and you can set up, if you would like to be a monthly contributor, you can also set up you can just pay once off, and all the usual ways to pay are there. I will also post the link in the chat. So thank you for that, and I will hand over now to Ayala.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's lovely to see, witness you greeting each other, this beautiful Sangha. So perhaps as we've been doing each morning, we could spend a few moments as you're settling and arriving to intentionally feel each other's presence, not just here on the screen, but to remember and recognize and feel each other's embodied presence around the world. Each one of these awakening body, hearts and minds. These beautiful souls, beautiful beings, connecting through space and connecting also through time, welcoming those of you joining at a different time in the recording, and yet connecting into the same field regardless. So just sending out your appreciation, not only through these lovely messages you're sharing, but also your appreciation in presence. So, as those of you who've been joining in the last few days will know, we've been exploring different facets of what I'm calling living in sacredness. And my hope is that we've been exploring it in as embodied a way as possible. And so the sense of the body as sacred, beginning to create this, both this experience and this container of the body as a ongoing movement and field that is at ease and grounded, that is awake and receptive, and that is spacious in its capacity to hold all experience that moves through it. We've been exploring as well the breath as so much more as something we take. In fact, we've been exploring, I hope, that the breath isn't something we take. It is something that is received and given back. We've been exploring breathing as an unfolding process of letting go, of trusting, of letting in and allowing, of participating, in other words, in this mysterious ongoing flow of universal exchange. And so all of these contexts I've been sharing within the wider context of the Buddha Dharma, of the foundational teachings, dependent origination, and the three marks of existence, so the very foundation of everything existing both in relationship and as a relationship, the relational field of all experience, the changing field of all experience. The truth that there is no discrete entity that is separate, whether this is a separate self, or whether this is an experience that this self seems to be receiving, whether that is anything we come across. And the truth that we suffer when we forget the fundamental truths of reality. So today we'll be exploring a little the possibility that the mind is sacred, which may initially seem a little confusing or perhaps a bit of a contradiction when we are so familiar with a practice that is often predominantly about unhooking from mental fixation. And so to clarify that, a lot of this is about, a lot of communication. It's helpful to clarify what we mean by the words we use. And so when I'm using the word mind in this context, what I'm referring to is something much wider than, let's call it, conventional mind. all of that too is sacred. And so, as I mentioned in response to one of your beautiful questions, everything is sacred, and yet it is always possible to distort the sacredness of any expression through our forgetfulness when we're in this trance of separation. We distort whatever it is that, whatever expression, whatever sacred expression is arising, whether that's a distorted relationship to an emotion, a distorted action, or a distorted relationship to mind, let's say. And distortions, our distorted relationships to anything tend to be expressed either through suppressing or through embellishing. You might be more familiar with that teaching in relation to emotions. The distorted relationship to emotion arises when we suppress the feeling or when we get lost in narratives around the feeling, which then recreate the feeling. But it's similar with the mind. So distorted suppression can feel like a kind of numbness, spaciness. And we all often, consciously or not, numb our thinking capacity and become heavy or just space out. And perhaps the aspect of distortion that we're most familiar with meeting in our practice is the embellished, looping, habitual, and often reactive narratives. So there's the distorted relationship towards mind or mental capacity, but there's also, at least in the way that I experience and that I'm sharing this word mind, there's also a limited way that a limitation of the word mind, limiting it to the workings of this frontal cortex, the thinking mind. So I'd like to suggest that we can widen our experience of luminous intelligence, which is what I'm referring to in its widest sense as mind. Our experience of consciousness, our experience of luminous intelligence, to include the luminous intelligence of everything. The capacity of the thinking mind is simply one expression of that luminous intelligence. And we're beginning to understand more in our culture of the gut brain. But still, even there, we're looking for neurons. We're looking for the same type of expression of luminous intelligence. Perhaps it is neurons that fire, but perhaps there's also luminous intelligence in our hands. A luminous intelligence that arises in every part of our body, in proprioception. There's a luminous intelligence of the breathing that some of you might have experienced yesterday. And so when we remain fixated in a particular looping narrative, and when we narrow our definition of mind to the thinking mind, to the frontal cortex, even our meditation practice of unhooking from fixation and bringing our attention to the breathing can still remain in a state of separation, in a state of observing something else that we're calling the breathing, observing from the frontal cortex something called the breathing. We're still staying in that illusion of there being discrete entities, an observer and an observed, subject, object. So what I'm hoping to invite you into in this exploration of sacredness is the field of reality that is available to us when we receive experience and let it speak for itself, when we allow the breathing to speak for itself, no longer observing breathing, but receiving the breath and listening to its luminous intelligence, no longer observing sensation, but receiving sensation. Receiving sensation as you in this moment, as the expression of the luminous intelligence of your being arising in this way in this moment. And the more we begin to experience ourselves as this ongoing flux of a wider field of luminous intelligence, the more we are able to receive others in that way, the more we're able to receive the luminous intelligence of the natural world, perhaps even the luminous intelligence of the unseen realms. The more we widen in our willingness to recognize that everything is alive in its own way from its own expression. So I'll invite those of you who would like to begin, or perhaps before we begin our seated meditation practice, to help you come more into the aliveness of the body. Those of you who would like to, feel free to stand up and shake. If you prefer not to shake, but you want to feel the body instead, you're welcome to stretch in any way you want, as we did yesterday. So shaking, you could stand and begin shaking the hands, shaking the arms, shaking through the whole body, shaking the hips, shaking the legs. Open your mouth wide. You can even jump up and down on the feet. So just let this be very free form. You can close your eyes as well. Make sounds if that's helpful for you. Shaking or stretching. It's another 30 seconds or so. Feeling any parts of your body that feel stuck, stagnant or stuck. And then when you're ready, if you're shaking, bring yourself to stillness. If you've been stretching, find your way to a center. Take some deeper breaths. If you've been standing, you can bring yourself back to a seated posture if you like. Taking a slow, soft inhale and an exhale out through your mouth. Relax your face. the back teeth apart. Root of the tongue relaxed. And receive the sensations in your body. Don't observe them. Receive their luminous intelligence as you. Receive your breathing. Rather than a mind observing breathing, become the intelligence of your breathing. Receive the sensations of your body breathing. And simply unhooking again and again from the thinking mind that tries to understand or argues, that judges, compares, tries to figure out and fix. Bowing to the beauty of this capacity, but for now gently unhooking, letting it flow by as you receive the intelligence of your breathing. Letting your breathing speak for itself. As you receive the inhalation, lengthen the spine and open the chest so that your body is alert, awake to breathing. Whenever you notice tension in your body, take a longer exhale. Relax, release that tension. Learning to trust in the intelligence of your breathing body, to know this moment, to express this moment. Even as you are anchoring your attention on the sensation of breathing somewhere in your body, let the thinking mind relax. No need even to observe. You are your breathing. Stay close to your breathing. Unhooking. And as you unhook, release the mouth and eyes, the shoulders and the belly. And relax back into the refuge of this breathing body with its own luminous intelligence. If there's sluggishness in your system, pay a little more attention to the inhalations, to lengthening the spine, to the awakeness of body. the openness of body to receiving life. If there's agitation in your system, pay a little more attention to the exhalations, noticing where you can relax and let go, feeling ground, receiving your breathing in the lower belly, letting go. Let the intelligence of your breathing find its own regulation, its own expression. Receive it. Each unhooking comes with relaxing the face, the jaw, the eyes, the shoulders, the belly. Each return comes with renewed wonder, Relax the muscle of your brain to receive the breath. And let it speak for itself. Let the sensations in your body speak to you as you. Feel your body's intelligence, or at least open to receive it. Receive the luminous intelligence of Citta, body-mind, one thing. As we begin, prepare to bring this meditation to a close, sense, or at least allow the possibility that this same luminous intelligence extends beyond the contours of your skin, that it might be alive in everything, everywhere. Since the field we've created together, alive with the luminous intelligence of our Sangha mind. And in deep gratitude and reverence for this great mystery, for the gift of participating in this great mystery. Thank you, everybody, for your practice and presence. It's time now, as usual, to share questions or reflections. And while you are reflecting on a question, either about this topic or anything else that is coming up for you in relation to our practice or in relation to your own practice, I will share a question which was asked yesterday, which is very much in this theme, from Marcel, if I pronounced it right, who wrote, "I find that my meditation practice makes me more thoughtful during conversations and makes me respond rather than react. However, it also makes me slower to respond, Conversations don't follow as well as they used to. It makes me somewhat held back when socializing with others. Although I appreciate the benefits of meditation and mindfulness, it also feels like I'm losing something in the process. Do other people feel this too? What's your opinion, Ayala? So I'm hoping that our practice today has already, to some extent, answered or at least illuminated aspects of your question, Marcel, and others of you who I'm sure have the same question or experience. Because I think it's a very common experience in this practice. And I'm hoping that you can make the connection with what I shared at the beginning, that when our focus is, as it inevitably is, in the beginning in particular, on balancing the distortion, as I described it, of looping, reactive thinking, and therefore reactive expression, reactive action, reactive speech, reactivity. Balancing it by this beautiful practice of unhooking and learning to bring our attention into the immediacy of this moment, into the immediate embodied experience of now. If at the same time we continue to remain in the thinking mind as observer of the observed, there'll tend to be a kind of slowness, a clunkiness, because that's not actually the way the luminous intelligence of our being operates. The mind can be, the thinking mind, the frontal cortex can be asked to come into the position of observer when it's useful for us to be in that position of analysis, of using its incredible skills. But when we are, for example, in conversation with others, our whole body can respond. And of course, this is a practice. So one initial response to your question, Marcel, is find ways and times to be in your body in a more fluid way. It could be shaking, like perhaps you did at the beginning of our meditation together. It could be dancing. It could be just being barefoot outside. It could be swimming. It could be yoga. It could also be running. So in those times that you're in your body, make time also to feel the body from the body, to let the body speak for itself. And the same with our emotional life. There's a way in which, when we're always an observer of it, it can become either frozen or a little clunky in its expression. So it's something to play with. And perhaps let me know if this answers your question or not, or if you feel that there's something to explore for a while. I'd be happy for you to get back to me at a later date to continue to explore how it might be to be more fluid inside our intrinsically fluid experience of being human. And how we might trust, as I spoke about on the first day, I think, the appropriate response of our whole system, our whole body, heart, mind system, the appropriate response to arise in any moment from our intuitive, emotional, physical, and psychological being. And that's the place that brings such a fullness and satisfaction when we are in relationship with life, which is the whole of life, to be in relationship, whether it's relationship with ourselves, with this moment, with each other, with the natural world, with life. So I'm just seeing if I can find some other questions.
Ayala, there's one from Rivka at the top.
Thank you.
848.
Rivka, yeah. Thank you. So Rivka says, if everything, body, breath, feelings, thoughts, is sacred, what is left? The profane domain. Nothing. I'm interested in this concept of a profane domain, and perhaps it's an issue about language. Perhaps we have a different definition. So my question to you would be, why is there a need for a separation between the sacred and the profane? It's, to me, that's very much something that has arisen in the religions or the interpretations of religious sentiment in the last 500 years, which have been a period of time when there's been this separation of it's the language of separation has really proliferated, if you like. The experience is what we can rely on. So rather than a concept of sacred or profane, what we can really inquire into is, how does this moment, this experience show itself, reveal itself to me when my relationship to it is one of sacredness? And how does this moment reveal itself to me when my relationship to it is one of anything other than sacred? And what is my experience of being alive in sacredness and alive in anything that appears to be not sacred? What is my participation with that? How does that my participation with that moment change? So yes, to me, there's no need to make a distinction, because as we mentioned also in the question about ritual, anything becomes a ritual and anything becomes sacred if we enter into a relationship with it in that way. And in doing so, when something is experienced as sacred, it's experienced as divine. There's a reason for those words to be connected. It's experienced as, remember, I'm using this word sacred to describe something that is precious. And if everything is fleeting, iridescent, changing, dissolving before us and within us, it's precious. Actions that come from the violence of forgetfulness, of the sacredness, we don't perceive those as precious. Those are violent. And we respond fiercely in ways to protect any violation. But even the being deeply lost inside his or her own forgetfulness that is able to create those actions of violence, even that being at their essence is sacred. They're just deep in their forgetfulness, just as we all experience from time to time in different ways. So I would love your feedback. You can always contact me directly as well, Ayala Gill at gmail.com. And if there are any other questions that I haven't come to, then as usual, I will do my best to respond to them tomorrow, in our session tomorrow. And so as we close today, let's pause for a moment again to feel each other in this field of a sacredness that is luminous with its own intelligence, an intelligence that is warm, intrinsically luminous. Let's feel each other in this field together so that we can tap into this field where we reflect back to each other our own sacredness. Even through the day, we can tap back into this field of remembrance so that our actions through the day come from the fluid intelligence of this whole citta, body-mind. Come from the field of our collective remembrance. Come from the luminous intelligence of the natural world that's speaking to us all the time around us. That our actions might be of benefit to all beings, in all directions, in all realms. Thank you.